Here's something most gardening channels will never tell you. You do not need a backyard. You do not need good soil. You do not need young knees, a strong back, or even a single patch of ground. And number 4 on today's list, it's a vegetable that most people throw away before it even gets a chance to feed them. We're going to fix that today. My name is David, and I've been helping everyday people, especially those of us who have been gardening for decades on dirt that's basically turned to concrete, grow real food in pots, buckets, and containers sitting right outside the back door. Today we're covering 7 vegetables that don't just survive in containers, they absolutely thrive. And at the very end, I'm going to share a bonus technique that has never appeared in any mainstream gardening book I've ever read. So don't go anywhere, let's get into it. Number 1, let's start with the king, tomatoes. Now you've probably grown tomatoes before, and maybe they've frustrated you before. Blight, rot, critters. But here's what changes everything in a container. You choose the environment. According to the National Gardening Association, tomatoes grown in containers with proper drainage and a quality soilless potting mix, not garden soil, not dirt from the yard, outperform in-ground tomatoes in gardens with poor soil quality by up to 40% in total yield. That's not a small number. What you want for containers is a determinate or dwarf variety. These were literally bred for smaller spaces. Some favorites: patio tomato stays compact, produces abundantly tumbling tom, great for hanging baskets and buckets. Celebrity, disease resistant. Heavy producer, your container needs to be at least 5 gallons, and here's the part most people skip: drainage holes are non-negotiable. Root rot is the number 1 silent killer of container tomatoes. Punch holes in the bottom. Set the pot on a couple of bricks so water runs free. Feed them every 2 weeks with a balanced liquid fertilizer. Tomatoes are hungry plants, and water consistently. Inconsistent watering is what causes blossom end rot, that ugly black bottom on your tomatoes. It's not a disease, it's a calcium absorption problem caused by irregular moisture. 1 5-gallon bucket, the right variety, proper drainage, consistent watering. You can harvest 15 to 20 pounds of tomatoes in a single season. From a bucket, God made this plant to give. You just have to meet it halfway. Vegetable 2, peppers. Peppers are what I call a long-haul producer. They don't explode out of the gate, but once they get going, they just keep going and going. Here's something most people don't know: peppers actually prefer being slightly root-bound. A 3 to 5-gallon container is perfect. Too big a pot, and they'll put all their energy into roots instead of fruit. A 2019 study from the Journal of Horticultural Science found that bell peppers grown in containers with controlled irrigation produced 30% more fruit per plant than field-grown peppers in variable moisture environments. That's the power of consistency. And as seniors, many of us with morning routines and evening routines, we're actually naturally suited to this kind of disciplined plant care. For maximum production, choose California Wonder Bell, classic, reliable. Cayenne, incredibly prolific, up to 70 peppers per plant in a season. Banana pepper, gentle, easy to harvest. Great for seniors with arthritis in the hands since they snap off easily. 1 tip: place your pepper container against a light-colored wall. The wall reflects heat back onto the plant, and peppers love warmth. It's like giving your plant a warm hug from both sides. Vegetable 3, lettuce and salad. Greens. If tomatoes are the king, lettuce is the cash flow of the container garden. Here's why. With the cut-and-come-again method, a single container of lettuce can feed you for months, not weeks, months. You snip the outer leaves and the plant keeps producing from the center. Oregon State University Extension documented that cut-and-come-again harvesting of leaf lettuce produced up to 6 harvests from a single planting before the plant bolted. 6 harvests, 1 planting. For seniors on a fixed income, that kind of return matters. You don't need much space either. A window box, even a $7 plastic one from a hardware store, is enough. Lettuce roots are shallow. They care more about surface area than depth. Best varieties for containers: Butter Crunch, soft, slow to bolt, easy to harvest. Red leaf lettuce, beautiful, fast-growing. Spinach, technically not lettuce but plays the same role. Loaded with iron and folate, and here's the thing about lettuce that most people miss: it prefers cool weather. If you're in a warm climate, grow your lettuce in early spring or fall. Move the container into afternoon shade in summer. The container actually gives you the power to move your garden with the seasons. Your in-ground bed can't do that. Vegetable 4. Okay, I promised you that number 4 would surprise you. Here it is. Beans. I can already hear some of you. Beans. I can buy a can of beans for 89 cents. And that's exactly the problem. We've been trained to see beans as cheap, ordinary, not worth growing. But listen to this: a single 5-gallon bucket of bush beans can yield between half a pound and a full pound of beans every 5 to 7 days during peak production. That's according to data from the University of California Cooperative Extension. Over a 10-week production window, one bucket could give you 10 to 15 pounds of fresh beans. Now let's do the math on what fresh green beans cost at the store. In 2024, the USDA reported the average retail price of fresh green beans at $2.49 per pound, 10 pounds. That's nearly $25 of food from one bucket that cost you maybe $3 in seeds and a bag of potting mix. That's not gardening, that's stewardship. And there's something deeper here, too. Beans are nitrogen fixers. That means while they grow, they're actually building nutrients back into your potting mix, enriching it for the next plant you grow there. They give while they grow. There's a lesson in that. Best container varieties: provider bush bean, compact, heavy producer, no staking needed, contender, reliable, early harvest, dragon tongue, gorgeous yellow with purple streaks. Kids love harvesting them. Do not use pole beans for containers unless you build a small trellis system. Stick with bush varieties, they stay compact and they produce without any support. Vegetable 5. Kale, the preacher's plant. I call kale the preacher's plant because it gives a new sermon every week. Here's what I mean. Kale is another cut and come again producer. You harvest the outer leaves and the inner crown keeps growing, keeps producing, keeps feeding you. Penn State Extension calls kale one of the highest yielding leafy greens per square foot of any vegetable in the home garden. And the nutritional profile. 1 cup of raw kale has more vitamin C than an orange, more calcium than milk per calorie. It's been called the most nutrient-dense food on the planet by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, a well-known physician and author who published research on ANDI aggregate nutrient density index scores. Kale scored 1,000 out of 1,000, perfect score, the top of the chart. For containers, choose dwarf blue curled Scotch kale, compact, very productive red Russian, beautiful, tender leaves, milder flavor Toscano dinosaur kale, striking dark leaves. Amazing taste, roasted with olive oil. Use at least a 3-gallon container, water regularly, and feed monthly with a balanced fertilizer. Kale is cold hardy too, which means even when the season turns, your container keeps giving long after your neighbor's gardens have gone to sleep. Proverbs 13:23 says, "An unplowed field produces food for the poor." Your creativity and your faith are more powerful than your zip code or your soil report. Vegetable 6 is sweet potatoes. This one surprised even me when I first tried it. Sweet potatoes in a container. Most people think you need long rows in a big garden to grow sweet potatoes. But Texas A&M AgriLife Extension has documented successful sweet potato harvests from 15 to 20-gallon grow bags with yields of 3 to 8 pounds per bag. The trick is the grow bag itself. Fabric grow bags allow the air pruning of roots, which forces the plant to produce more sweet potato tubers rather than sending one long root deep into the ground. It's counterintuitive. A smaller, more restricted space actually produces more usable food. Reframe: what looked like a limitation becomes the very mechanism of abundance. Use a slip, a rooted cutting from a sweet potato, rather than planting a whole potato. You can make your own slips at home by suspending a store-bought organic sweet potato over a glass of water with toothpicks. Within 2 to 4 weeks, you'll have slips ready to plant. Free. From a potato that cost you less than $1. Best variety for containers: Beauregard standard grocery store variety, excellent producer, reliable. The vines are beautiful too. Many seniors grow them as ornamentals in hanging baskets without even knowing the root is edible. Vegetable 7. Green onions. Scallions. Here is the most practical vegetable on this entire list, and it takes up the least amount of space. Green onions, scallions. Here's the secret: you can regrow them from grocery store scraps. Take a bunch of green onions, use the green tops in your cooking, then place the white root ends, the bottom inch or two, into a small pot of potting mix. Water them. Put them in a sunny window or on the porch. Within 7 to 10 days, you'll have full-sized green onions again. This is called vegetative propagation, and it works because the base of the onion contains the meristematic tissue, the part of the plant responsible for new growth. Louisiana State University Ag Center has confirmed that grocery store green onion roots can be successfully regrown up to 4 to 5 times before the flavor diminishes. So one bunch of green onions from the store, $1.29, becomes 5 bunches. That's essentially a 500% return. They grow beautifully in any container, even a tin can or a yogurt cup. They need very little fertilizer, very little space, and they're virtually pest-free. This is the plant I recommend every senior start with. The success is fast, it's visible, it's encouraging. And when you see something grow back that you thought was done and wasted, that's a reminder that God doesn't waste anything either. Let's just take a moment to be honest about something. We've been told that old soil is bad soil, that cracked ground means a failed garden, that containers are second class. But the truth is this: the very things we thought were our limitations, no yard, compacted soil, aging bodies, actually make container gardening the smarter choice. You're not making do. You're leveling up. Lean into it. Every bucket is a promise, every pot is a plot. All right, I promised you a bonus that you won't find in any mainstream gardening book. I've looked, I've searched. This technique is either buried in old homesteading literature or passed down orally in farming communities. It's almost never documented together the way I'm going to show you. It's called the subirrigated wicking container method, but the variation I'm going to describe is what I call the double bucket holy well system. Here's how it works. You take 2 buckets, a 5-gallon outer bucket and a smaller inner bucket or large plastic cup. You drill a series of small holes in the bottom and lower sides of the inner container. You fill the outer bucket with water. This is your reservoir. You nest the inner bucket inside, filled with your soilless potting mix. The mix draws water up from the reservoir below through capillary action, the same physics that pulls water up a paper towel when you dip its corner. Now here's the part the books miss. You add a vertical overflow pipe, a piece of PVC cut to the water reservoir depth so you can fill the reservoir through the pipe without disturbing the plant above. You'll never overwater. You'll never underwater. The plant takes exactly what it needs when it needs it. NASA studied this type of subirrigation system for growing food in space, documented in a 1997 paper by the Kennedy Space Center titled Salad Machine. A plant growth unit for space stations. They found plants grown this way produced consistent, healthy yields with minimal human intervention. Minimal human intervention, that's a senior gardener's dream right there. The materials cost under $10. A drill, 2 buckets, a piece of PVC pipe, or even a plastic bottle with the bottom cut off. You build it once, it serves you for years. I'll show you the full build in an upcoming video, but today I want you to understand the principle: water from below, not from above. Just as a tree planted by the river doesn't wither, Psalm 1:3, your plant, connected to a hidden water source, will stay green and producing even when conditions around it are harsh. That's not just gardening, that's a picture of something greater. I used to think that too, but here's the truth. The University of Maryland Extension published research showing that container-grown vegetables, when managed properly, can yield just as much, and in some cases more, than in-ground beds. Why? Because you control everything. The soil quality, the drainage, the nutrients, the water. You're not fighting clay, you're not fighting rocks, you're not fighting decades of depleted earth. The Royal Horticultural Society in the UK calls it controlled growing, and they've documented yields of up to 20 pounds of tomatoes from a single 15-gallon container in one season. 20 pounds. from a bucket. So if your backyard soil is done, if it's hard, gray, cracked, or just tired, this method is not a consolation prize. It might actually be your upgrade. Now, before I let you go, I want to speak directly to you, the one who's been told your gardening days are behind you. The one with the broken up yard, the arthritic hands, the porch that's too small, and the wallet that's too thin. You are exactly who this channel is for. Not the 25-year-old with a raised bed system and a YouTube budget. You. The one who still remembers what a garden felt like when you were young and who wants to feel that again, even if it's just in a bucket by the back door. Here's your one practical step for this week. Find one container, a pot, a bucket, an old colander, even a crate lined with burlap, and commit to planting one thing from today's list. Start with the green onions if you want the fastest win. Start with tomatoes if you want the biggest harvest, but start. Down in the comments, tell me which of these 7 have you already tried and which one shocked you most. I read every comment. I reply to as many as I can. This channel exists because of you, and I mean that. If today's video helped you, if it gave you even 1 ounce of hope that your garden story isn't over, share it with one person. A friend from church, a neighbor, a sibling, someone who needs to know that beauty still grows even in hard places. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, not for me, for yourself. Because we have so much more coming. The full wicking bucket build, a video just for seniors with arthritis on easy grip gardening tools. And a series on container gardening through the winter months that I think is going to change how you see the colder seasons entirely. We're building something real here. A garden community for people who believe that life, real, nourishing, beautiful life, can still grow from any soil in any season at any age. I'll see you in the next one. God bless you and keep planting.